G'day, Corbinate2000 here. I'm back with another Borderlands 3 build video for you guys, as today I'm going to be going over Doomslayer Amara. This build revolves around using the Face Puncher to its fullest potential and turning you into a near unstoppable killing machine that rips and tears everything apart. This build is extremely powerful to the point that you can solo the Guardian takedown on true takedown mode quite easily. It's ridiculous, and I don't even mention the Malone takedown. You can absolutely destroy the Malone takedown on true takedown difficulty solo. This build is just that powerful. It is absolutely ridiculous. I'll have timestamps in the description as well as on screen right now, so you can jump between each part of the video. And without out of the way, let's just jump into this monstrosity. So starting off with the gear, this is actually pretty straightforward, as the only weapon you really need to worry about is the Face Puncher. The Face Puncher is a unique shotgun in the fact that it shoots bullets that count as melee attacks, and its damage is scaled off of your melee damage. So the higher your melee damage is, the higher damage the Face Puncher will do. And due to its attacks counting as melee damage, this allows you to trigger certain skills and utilize certain artifacts to their fullest potential, like cut purse artifacts. You can just shoot the Face Puncher to get ammo back. Knife drain artifacts, you can get health back by just shooting, and all the elemental stone artifacts can give the Face Puncher just simply more damage. It's really crazy actually. When it comes to anointments, I highly recommend you try get a Face Puncher with the after use of using Face Slam, weapon damage is increased by 300%. The reason for this is because you can combine this with a shield that has the anointment using Face Slam. After using Face Slam, gain 200% increased melee damage. Due to the Face Puncher and gain increased scaling off of melee damage, it gets bonus damage from melee anointments. But because it's a weapon, it also scales off of weapon damage. So you can increase the power of this weapon via weapon damage and melee damage. And considering Amara has two anointments that are one for weapon damage and one for melee damage that is triggered by that are both triggered by Face Slam, you can get up to 500% weapon damage increase for the Face Puncher just from two anointments, which is pretty fucking insane. When it comes to other weapons to carry around, these are mostly utility things. So a low level sellout's going to be handy for keeping your shields down. A weapon that's a splash damage weapon to be able to break your shields is always handy, and then a fourth weapon to just fill a slot just because the only weapon you'll be ever using is the Face Puncher. It's that powerful. The shield is going to be the Brawler Ward. The Brawler Ward is the best melee shield in the game, as you can get up to 300% melee damage, and it can give you some health regen, and it also increases weapon damage all while your shield is depleted. And the great thing about the Face Puncher is that the melee damage and the weapon damage parts that it takes benefit to both. So you get 325% extra damage with the Face Puncher due to its scaling off of melee damage, so the Brawler Ward's the best shield for it. And the fact that it being it's a gun, it scales off of weapon damage. So 325% extra damage just while your shield is depleted. Combine that with the fact that if you can get this shield with the Face Slam melee damage increased by 200% anointment, combined with the 300% weapon damage anointment on your Face Puncher, that's 825% extra damage after using your action skill while your shield is down. That is stupid amounts of extra damage. That is just ridiculous. And this is why this build is stupidly strong, because once you shoot your action skill, you can kill everything. It is dumb. I was able to free tap Traunt. I was able to one cycle Grave Ward, which is a melee build's worst enemies, because punching it is very finicky. And you can, as I said, I could run through both the Malone and Guardian takedown on true takedown difficulty solo with relative ease. It's pretty fucking dumb. All because a gun and a shield with the right anointments equals stupid damage. Now, granted, you gotta have these anointments to get the most damage out of it. However, you can live without the anointments because at its basis, like at the base level, you can do a good chunk of the content and still do relatively good damage with good survivability. But when you get the anointments, things just go from good to outright dumb in the best way possible. Moving on to the class mod, I recommend getting the Breaker. The Breaker gives you damage reduction the closer you are to enemies, but the big thing here is that the Breaker can come with the ability to boost one of your skills, which is Find Your Center. Find Your Center is a skill that boosts your melee damage, and you want that skill because, as I've mentioned, melee damage equals face puncher damage. And as for the other skills, I highly recommend trying to get as many points into Jab Cross as possible, and I'll go into more details about why when I go over the skills. But just keep in mind that you want to Find Your Center and as many points into Jab Cross for your Breaker. As for the bonus stats on it, melee damage, gun damage, shotgun damage, action skill cooldown rate, all those things are very handy. So yeah. As for your artifact, I recommend a Elemental Stone Static Charge. The Elemental Stone part of this artifact will add extra elemental damage to your face puncher. In my case, I have a radiation stone, so I'm getting bonus radiation damage from my onto my face puncher, which is really handy. As for the Static Charge, this is just guaranteed 50% bonus shock damage, which is really handy. Plus, it has the bonus ability of when you slide around, you build up a charge, and when you shoot someone or hit someone with a melee attack, in this case shoot someone, you shoot an electric tendril shock thing to nearby enemies. Kind of like a makeshift brainstormer, which is pretty handy as the more you slide around, the more damage that tendril does. So it can be a nice little extra bonus way of sending out damage. Just be careful when playing on consoles, as this can lag out your game a bit. And bonus stats same applies for what I mentioned with the class mod, just melee damage, gun damage, all that stuff. As for the grenade, you can pretty much rock around with anything as long as it has the anointment of a bonus element of some kind. Try get a grenade with each element, or at least each of the base elements, so fire, shock and corrosive. And the reason you want this is because this will add a little bit of extra damage to your face puncher after using your action skill, and it's pretty handy. Just a little bit of extra damage never hurts anyone. And yeah, that's pretty much the gear. Just the big things here: the Brawl Award and the face puncher with the right anointments. Alright, moving on to the skills, I'm just going to quickly show off each of the skill trees, so if you want to just quickly check them out, and you can do that by pausing the video, so just take a quick look at them now. And yeah, as you can see, we're mostly spec'd into the orange and green tree with a tiny bit of blue. So yeah, let's just quickly go through these. Maxed out Rooster Rise for bonus health, 1 point into Clarity for health regen and to go down the skill tree. Maxed out Helping Hands for the damage reduction after using your action skill, very handy. Maxed out Mindfulness, each stack of Mindfulness can be increases your movement speed and shield recharge delay, which is very handy. The movement speed is very handy. Shield recharge delay not so much, but it's not a big issue. Unlike other melee builds, if your shield starts recharging, it's not a big deal. Only it can be a blessing sometimes having a shield to stop an extra bullet or two. Otherwise, yeah, it's something that's not really too big. The movement speed is what we're gonna want. Find Your Center, this increases your melee damage, and that's the only real benefit we're getting from this with this build. Maxed out One with Nature, even more health and elemental damage resistance from whatever action skill element we're using, so that's always handy. Jab Cross. Whenever you melee an enemy, you gain increased action skill damage, which we're not worried about, and gun damage for a few seconds. So when you shoot someone with the face puncher, you'll activate Jab Cross. When Jab Cross is active, your face puncher will gain the bonus gun damage from his skill. and due to the fact that you'll always be shooting the face puncher at someone, you're getting a passive gun damage bonus all the time, which is really cool actually. So this is just free damage basically. You want to grab Guardian Angel because this is a free fight for your life. This is a free fight for your life second wind every 2 minutes, which is really handy. Don't know why that was so hard to say, but yeah, this is just very handy. So if you go down, you've got a get out of jail free card, which is always good. Blitz. The fact that the melee override doesn't mean anything to us. This is just bonus damage for our face puncher, which is always good. Onto the orange tree, maxed out infusion. This converts a portion of the face puncher's damage to whatever action skill element is, and the reason that's a good thing because that allows our face puncher, which does non-elemental damage, to do some elemental damage of our choice. So you can choose fire, shock, or corrosive, and this is really handy when matching elements of enemies, especially during boss fights, as you can kill things a lot quicker. Maxed out steady hand, you gain bonus handling and accuracy. Accuracy is the big thing here, as the more accuracy you have on a shotgun, the tighter your spread, the better range you have for a shotgun. Always handy. 2 points in Anima. This is just to go down the skill tree. You gain increased status effect, damage, and duration. Not a real big issue because status effect damage with the face puncher is not that good. Next you want to max out Tempest. This just gives you increased elemental damage, and shock damage does even more damage, which is really good, especially when using infusion and the artifact that gives us even more elemental damage on a face puncher. Illuminated Fist. The only thing that's helpful here is that it gives you bonus melee damage, as the part of converting our melee damage to our action skill element doesn't work with the face puncher, unfortunately. If it did, then infusion would be pointless. Next I grab Dread. This increases your gun damage whenever you grab an enemy. This is just to go down the skill tree. However, if you do want to run Ties That Bind, and due to the fact that maybe your face puncher didn't have the right anointment, instead of having Face Slam, you just got a standard action skill and 100% weapon damage. You can use Ties That Bind instead, and this would work well. Yes. But otherwise, just go down the skill tree. Next, you want to max out Indiscriminate. This is in one hand just to go down the skill tree. On the other hand, there's a chance that the bullets can ricochet to nearby enemies. I'm unsure if this works with the face puncher, but there's no overall skills that's worth putting points into. I mean, you could put the points into Anima, but as I mentioned, status effect damage with the face puncher isn't that good to begin with, so it's really your choice. Lastly, for the orange tree, you want to grab 1 point of sustainment. This gives all your elemental damage lifesteal, so whenever you do elemental damage, you gain health back, which is really handy, as the face puncher will be doing elemental damage, and since you'll be doing so much damage, literally millions of damage, 1 point is all you need, because 4% of millions of damage is going to get you enough health to keep you alive, so long as you're hitting your targets. Alright, moving on to the blue tree. You want to max out fast hands. This will get, the big thing here is that you'll get bonus reload speed, which is something you really want, as you'll be using a gun. You want to be able to reload that bitch quickly. The next 2 points you spend, I put 1 point into Do Harm and Violent Tapestry. These are just to go down the skill tree. You could put 2 points into one skill, 2 points into the other skill, or 1 in each skill, and it doesn't really matter. You're not really worried about rush stacks with this build. Lastly, you want to max out Restless. This will increase your action skill cooldown rate by 25%, which is really handy, as the better your cooldown rate is for your action skill, the more you'll be able to shoot your action skill out. Speaking of action skills, as I mentioned, you'll want to use Ties That Bind if you don't have a face slam anointment on your face puncher. If you get like just 100% action skill and damage anointment. If you do have face slam, then I'd recommend using Fracture, as it has the shortest cooldown of all the face slam and action skills, so this is really handy. Alternatively, if you get the phase cast action skill and anointment, then I'd use Deliverance as it has the same cooldown rate as the standard phase cast. As for your augment, I'd recommend Soul Sap because this is bonus lifesteal code, and that's always good. Extra survivability never hurts. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up the skills. So yeah. Alright, next off I'm just going to quickly go over some of the Guardian ranks, as there's some extra little details I want to go over. First things first, you want to disable shield reboot and emergency response. The former, yeah, you want to have turned off because killing an enemy triggering your shield recharge, your shield regeneration, that's not good. You want to keep that shield down as much as you can. So killing enemy and have your shield starting to recharge, not a good thing. As for the latter, having your shield recharge delay and rate improving based on your missing health, again, same idea as shield reboot. You don't want your shield to be recharging often, and when it does, you don't want it recharging super quickly, so it can be broken more easily. Those two you want turned off. Otherwise, nothing else really to mention in Guardian ranks. As for Mayhem Modifiers, I have a few suggestions of what you could run. For your easy modifier, Speed Demon's probably your best, as you kill an enemy you get bonus speed, and that's always a good thing because moving around is always fun. Alternatively, you could go with Slayer if you want to go for something that is just completely, you know, no mega effects on gameplay, as with this build it's not really you're not gonna notice it. It's basically acts as a null. That will basically act as a nothing modifier. As for your medium modifier, Mob Mentality is not bad. Enemies will do a bit more damage, but as long as you're able to shoot your enemies, you'll be able to keep yourself from dying. Alternatively, Healy Avenger isn't a bad one, even though those little drone things can completely heal an enemy up to full health, or at least a big chunk of health. You'll be able to, yeah, which can be annoying. You'll be killing enemies that quickly where that won't really be happening, so that can act as a null, a nothing modifier again as well. For your hard modifiers, Drone Ranger is pretty much the same idea as Healy Avenger. They're not those drones aren't going to be healing enemies enough to stop you from killing them near instantly. Alternatively, you could go with Ticked Off. Reason you could go with Ticked Off is because your status effect damage from your face puncher isn't that good to begin with, so you're not losing out on that much extra damage. So yeah, those could act as nothing modifiers. Lastly, for your very hard modifier, I highly recommend you go with Not the Face. This decreases critical hit damage by 75%, which at first glance that's a bad thing, but melee damage and in essence the face puncher cannot do critical hit damage. It can't hit critical hits. So yeah, that's something that's really, this basically is built for melee builds, because by default, as I mentioned, melee cannot do critical hits. The only way you can get critical hits is by having the action skill and bonus elemental damage anointment go off, and that's how you can get the critical hit display thing to pop up when you hit someone in the head or whatever. But the damage doesn't go up by that much anyway, so you're not losing out on really anything when having this modifier. So yeah, and when you think about it, this build actually can just run with a set of modifiers that really doesn't feel like you're running modifiers at all, which is fucking ridiculous. So not only do you have a stupidly strong build, you also have a build that can run modifiers that really don't affect the game at all, which is fucking fantastic actually. This build just does it all. This build is just dumb. So yeah, that basically wraps up this video and this build. The idea is you just run in, shoot your action skill, and just kill everything. It's really straightforward. All you have to do is just walk in, shoot shit, done. And as long as you're hitting your target, you'll be able to stay alive. So your survivability is basically determined by your accuracy. If you can hit your targets and keep hitting your targets, you're not going to die. If you can't hit your targets and you're bad at shooting, then you might have a little bit of trouble. But this build's damage, the damage you can output is going to potentially save you in most situations. So even if you go down, the damage output you can pump out is going to save your life more times than not. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and comment down below if you happen to give this build a try and what your thoughts are on it. Do you think this build is as strong as I think it is, or do you think that this is nothing compared to some of the other builds, compared to other builds that people have made? Share your thoughts down below. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.